Liz,
Hi.
Good
Hi,
morning. Good
we
evening.
missed you
Did you? When was that?
last week, the week before.
Last week. Last week, yeah, I had visitors. Yeah.
Yeah,
The week
human
before.
visitors.
Wasn't I there? I was there the week
Human
before.
visitors.
Human
Eh?
vis
Human visitors, yeah.
Human? Oh, that's no fun.
Somebody's 60th birthday. They came to celebrate in Amsterdam. So,
Lovely.
yeah, it was really nice. We did
Big
fun
six
things.
oh, huh?
Yeah. In Japan, they consider that a very special birthday.
60th?
Yeah, because
Oh,
it's set to start a new cycle in life, which is true. You get old. But she's a fan of Japan, and she's not Japanese herself, just normal European person. But yeah, so she wanted to celebrate it with her friend, me.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was nice. She came with a friend also.
Oh.
Where are you now, Joel?
Um, I'm in Auckland.
Okay, back in the USA.
No, I'm in New Zealand.
New Zealand, Auckland, New
Yeah,
Zealand, of course. Yeah, yeah.
it's all right.
Yeah, okay. Do you like it?
I'll let you know. Yeah, I don't dislike it. I think I just got here a uh, a couple days ago. Auckland's a city.
Yeah,
It's a busy city.
yeah, yeah,
So interesting. They have problems here, though, I think, you know.
yeah. Where is there no problems, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Everywhere I go, everybody is afraid of actually losing their nationalities, you know. So
Wow.
all
Why?
all the immigration, you know.
Oh,
The Turkish people are afraid of losing their Turkish. The Kiwis are afraid of losing. So,
yeah, yeah.
Welcome in, Douglas.
hey, Douglas.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Michael.
Welcome in, Michael.
Hi, Liz.
My goodness. We always have a little bit of chitter chatter as people roll in. So, gosh, thank you so much for being here. I was sharing with Joel. It's the first time that I've had butterflies to have like any kind of gathering, which was reminding me of being on stage. I've done community, well, I used to do community theater, and so it's reminding me of like just before I walk on stage, having those butterflies of, oh my gosh, I've forgotten my lines. Goodness. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have that every morning. I wake up and I'm not sure if I remember my lines.
It
It's a
could
good
be,
point.
it's an
Life is like a
epidemic.
big plane, right? Mhm.
I don't have
Traveling too much.
butterflies though. I think I have like dragons or I've got something bigger. So,
I don't know that. I think the butterflies are a beautiful mother language, so I'm okay with that. My
hey,
goodness.
Michael.
Hey, Joel. Mhm.
Good morning,
Hmm.
Kiana. Welcome in.
Do you know how many of us are coming, Chastity?
I believe a couple more, but we'll start right on time. I know Kat is hoping to make it to this one. Sometimes it's challenging for her.
Yeah.
I assume Debbie is coming, and sometimes she has some internet issues. So we will get started. Uh, I would like to welcome in Douglas Gabriel. I was introduced to your work by an older friend, Stephanie, and many of you know Stephanie. She's been was in our group for quite some time, and she said you have to follow Douglas's work. Like he's intelligent, he's amazing, he's funny. He studies Rudolf Steiner, and there's you just go down a rabbit hole with Douglas's work. And welcome in, Catherine. And so I want to say thank you so much. It has been, I was just tickled when you agreed to be here for our little group. We just meet on Sundays usually, and we talk about geopolitics, the mother, Sophia, the heart, just anything that comes to that can increase our knowing, our thinking, feeling, and willing. We talk about this all the time. There's a few of us reading your recent book, and if it's all right, I'd like to open with why now? Why is this book coming out now? And on page 84, you write, however, this will affect only the smaller portion of mankind. The larger part of mankind will be influenced by America from the West, and this proceeds along an entirely different line of development. We might say that the present time is doing very well compared that which will come in the future when the Western development blossoms more and more. Very shortly, when one will have written the year 2000, there will come from America not a direct prohibition, but a kind of prohibition against all thinking, a sort of law which will have the aim of suppressing all individual thinking. On the other hand, there is the beginning achieved in this direction of suppressing all individual thinking into pure materialistic thinking, where one does not need to work upon the soul on the basis of external experiments, in which the human being is handled as if they were a machine. And this is a quote from Rudolf Steiner, Things in the Past, Present in the Spirit of Man, which is Lecture 4, Secrets of Freemasonry, April 4th, 1916, GA 167. And so as the mother brings us into her awareness and back into her bosom, we are finding this dilemma where Western thinking has taken over. And it leads me to ask the question, Douglas, and I'm curious what you have to say about this. Are the machined beings, machined thinking, Ahriman or parts of Ahriman, and is this outside of God? And how do we put all of these pieces together? And then we're going to have some questions on Sophia and the Demiurge, I think.
And you want me to answer that question?
Please. Yes.
Well, we'll see how I can do on that. Yeah, that's the question that we're supposed to be asking, you see, because we're supposed to understand mechanical occultism. In the Far East, they understand what's called eugenic occultism. In Europe, they're supposed to develop and understand hygienic occultism. In the West, it's pretty much ignored by almost everyone. But if you look at the history that happened many years ago in America, there was a group called Technocracy Incorporated. That was a group that said that the machines have to take over and that we have to get it out of the hands of humans. And that is now the belief of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. It's called dark enlightenment. So this is what we're actually facing. Now, the question is, you've implied here that there's a question that, is evil really part of God? And is this supposed to be happening? Well, that's the ultimate question that there is, free will, and whether grace supplants free will or whether your free will can align with grace. And if that grace takes us into a divine plan, why does the divine plan include such evil? Well, that's the sad news for people who haven't studied the mystery schools from the ancient, is that right now, Rudolf Steiner said in our time, and he insinuated that in that quote, that Ahriman will have his day. This is the time of Ahriman. But it's also the time of the beings of the future who are very, very evil, who are coming in now, called asuras. And the asuras affect the will, Ahriman affects feeling, and then Lucifer affects your thinking. And this is the same way that you look at eugenic occultism as Luciferic, and they're supposed to work with Lucifer. And the Central Europe is supposed to work with healing, supposed to work with taking away the fear and illness and death that Ahriman brings. And in the West, we're really trying to fight with mechanical occultism the incarnation of a being who hasn't even come down here yet. He's the sun demon. He's the true, there's many antichrists, but that's the true solar antichrist. And that's the being who wants to annihilate every human ego, every human I am. That is where the confusion starts to happen. The type of evil that's happening now is because we are at a turning point where all the great spiritual beings that are incarnated right now, because the bodies that we have are not adequate for those beings. And so only about half, there's about 24 of them incarnated right now, but only about half of them have bodies that can work at this point. So working together, most of their working together is in the spiritual world. So is evil going to be counteracted in the future? This is the biggest question that there is. Now, there's an answer to that. In the sixth planetary incarnation, in the sixth cultural age, and in the sixth subcultural age, which is far, far, far in the future, 666, that is when evil is no longer carried forward in this manifestation. So it has to wait. It is thrown into the fiery pit, or the lake of fire, the second lake of fire. They're thrown in there, and what happens? Rudolf Steiner says that they all have to wait for another Manvantara until they can become elemental beings and start the process of creation all over again. Everyone gets many, 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 many chances. So evil has to be here. Without evil, we can't grow. It's just, without gravity and levity, the plant can't grow. And a plant grows up, spins, just like the planets. The exact ratio of all the planets put together is the spinning of every plant. And it spins and goes up, stops, falls back and sleeps, receives new information from the stars, moves upward. We're doing that. And our star right now is giving us more information than we've ever received before, actually, in human history, because the geomagnetic strength of the Earth is the weakest that it's ever been seen in history. Matter of fact, they predict that if it keeps going exponentially the way that it is, people don't believe me, you can Google it, the scientists will tell you we will have no more gravitational influence or effect here on Earth by the end of 2026, this year. So that is telling us that something extraordinary is happening. And in May of 2024, we had the largest proton incursion into our geomagnetic field in human history. It actually started 2 new plasma fields around the Earth. And usually it squishes them, it condenses them. This time it added to them, and one of them is still there. So we're in a new age. And because in the last few weeks here, we saw 21 solar flares in a matter of 48 hours, and some of the largest coronal mass ejections we've ever seen, as well as the largest coronal holes we've ever seen, because we're supposed to be decreasing in this solar cycle. We are decreasing, and so what we're seeing are miracles. But if you don't know what's going on, you don't understand that every single time you have an X-class flare coming at the Earth and it's directly at the Earth, there's only one thing that keeps us from getting fried alive, and that's magnetic reconnection. And by the way, I'm glad you held up that book, because of the 5 books that are in what I'm talking about, This is Cosmology, is in that book. And so if you read that one, it's kind of a summary of the other stuff that is the preliminary stuff for it. But when it comes down to it, it's this gigantic plasma filament that is a tunnel that goes from the sun to the Earth that's protecting us right now. But it's not protecting us from X-rays, gamma rays and cosmic rays and all the other rays above that. So right now, if you are on the path of ascension, you probably noticed since May of 2024, and in the last 2 months, you probably noticed that you had a quantum leap in consciousness. And if you didn't, you probably had a quantum leap into hell, because the gates of hell have been opened, and so have the gates of heaven. And if you don't take advantage of it, and even if you try to stay in complete equilibrium, you're going backwards. Because this is the time when our DNA is actually, which it has many, many times before, it's metamorphosed, it's mutated, they call it, into higher aspects of it. So for most people, they might want to, and we can come together every Sunday and talk about the evil in the world because we're supposed to understand it. But what many people don't see is part of the divine plan is we don't conquer evil right now. At the turn of this millennia, we had the opportunity, and for about 20, 30 years, probably until about 2040, we have the opportunity, according to the spiritual scientist Steiner and many others, that we will have a small replica of the war of all against all. Now, that immediately creates confusion because there are two wars of all against all. And if you go into the divine plan and you calculate this all out and you look at what the great spiritual scientists have told us, which has been accurate about everything in the past and the present, so I'm assuming they're accurate in the future, we have a long time before we're supposed to get to that point. But because this being that I mentioned, the demon on the sun, Sorat wants to incarnate now through these beings called the Asuras that eat your ego. All AI eats your ego. All electromagnetism eats your ego. And all electromagnetism that scientists call electromagnetism is really a misnomer. There is natural electromagnetism in the exosphere, out in space, in our atmosphere, in our bodies. But the electromagnetism they use is pulled up from the hell realms, and it causes angels to be pulled down into this realm and become servants for us. And the problem is that that kind of evil is so profound because it is created by demons. These are not humans coming up with these ideas. This is the collective evil of, you could even say, the Turanian migration off of Atlantis, which still had the magic power to manipulate the world. And that's what mechanical occultism does. They tell you they manipulate the world. They tell you they're God. They can create particles. They can find particles. They can create, quantum this and quantum. There's no quantum, folks. Quantum is a theory. Everything they blame on quantum, that's called God. That's love. What is quantum entanglement? How many of you don't know that I can, because I love you, Charity Ann, I can right now go into you because we are quantum entangled. There's no space, there's no time, and consciousness bridges that anyway. So the point is, we're being lied to all the time. So if you don't have discernment in this age, the number one gift of the Spirit you should get is discernment. And then to counteract mechanical occultism, this evil we see coming out of the machines, and you probably want to, again, restate that component of your question so I specifically address it, because this is the biggest question there is going on. Rudolf Steiner said there'll be moral machines in the future, that only moral people could work. And everybody's saying, where is that? There's whole groups that I've worked with, Paul Imberson and Anthrotech and Mystech and all those different groups. The reality is that we must, as Rudolf Steiner said, enter into the belly of the dragon. That would be Ahriman and Soroth trying to happen now when he's not supposed to, and the Asuras, and all of the sub-natural realms, which are the realms below the surface of the earth, as well as the fallen angels on the moon, as well as all the fallen angels in all the different hierarchy. There literally hasn't been in history a moment ever before where we could end all human history right now. And the only thing saving it is the fact that some people on the earth know that that tube of plasma that connects us to the sun protects us from the bombardment of the sun, and to be able to answer the questions of, are we going to have a pole shift? Really, what's happening with the geomagnetic depletion of the earth? And you can go into all these things in detail. But what I notice is in the groups that contact me, they're all freaking out because they can't digest the evil that they see. Well, you can't. When you want to heal the worst illness you can think of, how do you heal it? Homeopathically. You take the substance that is just like the evil, just as Steiner said, you go into the belly of the dragon. And let me tell you, I'm a very bad pill for the dragon. And every time he opens his mouth, I jump in there and I mess up his tummy, because that's what I want to do. At first I thought I'll be his lieutenant and then I'll just turn off all his machines. It's not going to work. We actually have to go through that stage. And the great thing is, for those of us who are on the path of ascension, you can see that we are winning every single day. But then there's two evil things that happen on the same day. So there might be one step forward, but there's like two going backwards. And so I guess the real thing that I've come to, and my wife said this to me this morning, I think there really is only 144,000. The remnant, those who will survive. In the past, every culture rots from the inside out and disappears. And look at Rome. It was covered in how many feet of dirt because it was ignored for how. Look at all these cultures. They disappeared. Western culture is falling into its grave. Capitalism and every ism has been found out to be an idea, as Rudolf Steiner says. Any idea that does not become your ideal slays a force in you. So every one of these stupid ideas, isms, Marxisms, socialism, capitalism, any ism, Catholicism, doesn't work in this day and age, because that's for the group soul consciousness. That's not for the people who are ascending out of their own effort, out of ancient clairvoyance into what Steiner calls intellectual clairvoyance. So these machines, the only cure for it is, that I know of, is to do what Rudolf Steiner said: create a Christian cosmology that shows really who the human being is, where they came from, where they are, and where they're going. And that's the divine plan. And so and he said one other thing: we have to conquer the thought that the human being is a machine. And you do that by proving the heart is not a pump. So years ago, I worked with people. We proved that. That's in another book I wrote. But the fact of the matter is, it is now, even though these things are known by the people who are advanced, the common heart doctor doesn't know any of this. They don't even know anatomy. I recently had heart problems, and I get to meet lots and lots of heart doctors because of the weird thing that was happening. They'd come in, and then I'd ask them a couple questions, and they haven't a clue what the heart is. So the second we know what the heart is, because the heart is the entire cosmos, but it's growing. It's not yet the full cosmos. It's growing. So once we understand what the heart is, we can conquer mechanical occultism. But it's done not by making new machines, by using your human body the way that it can be used, which is beyond what most people can conceive. Mm-hmm. So I'm so glad you asked me such a simple question, and I had such a simple answer.
That's wonderful. Thank you. That goes in, we discuss our heart a lot here, and how we overcome this is through the rising of the Christ inside, or the rising of the sun being inside. And so thank you for that. That's absolutely stunning. Joel, I think you have a question.
Wow,
It's amazing.
That was woo. Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, that was good.
It's just a normal Friday conversation with you guys, isn't it?
Normal Friday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much there. And when you talk about the beings that are that are attacking the ego, is that the same as attacking the free will?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say, I I I agree with 99% of what you said. And the 1% I don't disagree with. Um,
Well, that's the one I want to concentrate on.
right.
That 1 degree.
It's is the oh boy, there's so much. What actually comes up is um the Detectional 144 is very important as well. I think that's important. And also it's the aspect of six mass extinction, the shift, the polar shift, the magnetics between the sun and the earth, the plasma fields, the plasma tunnels, all of that. There's a lot of whys in there, but I kind of like to get to where you're at the end is what do we do? And how do we how and what, and focus on the heart, and focus, what actually came up last night when I was trying to not trying, I was thinking of things to ask you, because I've been following your work for many years. Thank you.
Well, I apologize you had to put up with me that long.
I
That's amazing, Joel. Thank you.
No, it's I no, there's a lot of material there, so thank you. A lot of words in there. It's the gratitude too, and I know that Steiner wrote a lot about gratitude as the state of being, and I think that's a heart complex um um function. Yeah, how do you see gratitude, and does that fit into to what to work on as we proceed through these very interesting times? Thank you.
Well, that is the 1% left, Joel. It's gratitude. I'm going to tell you a long story now. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you a long story now. But the point is that when Amato took the idea of freezing water after he spoke over it and then showed us the forms, those were taken from anthroposophists in Switzerland. That was from Anthrotech. He didn't invent that, and neither did any of the people. Now there's people who do it, and there's a lady who just does it in her freezer, and it's beautiful. She just speaks over the water, puts it in the freezer, pulls it out, and you go, whoa! And then they think a thought. Water, whatever it touches, becomes it. Whatever water touches, it has a memory of everything it ever touches, and it becomes it. This is now a proven fact. So if water is rushing down in a creek and it's going over limestone, it takes on the limestone. Then it hits a place where it hits a bunch of iron. It instantaneously becomes iron.
You know what? Funny you say that. Can I just interject? I was in Cambodia, and there's a 10,000 lingam actually river. So the ancients they carved lingams, and they carved all kinds of things in the bottom of the river bed, and it's proven that the water that comes down that river goes into every ocean on the planet. So as the water covers it, it carries the blessings throughout the entire planet, just through that river. Interesting.
Those in India are called Shiva stones. You remember Indiana Jones was going after 3 stones? I wrote those. Those were Shiva stones.
Oh.
But they would only take a cartoon version of the stuff I would give Kathleen Kennedy, right? But anyway, that's so you're right. See, it's the stones. So stones do that too, especially if they're crystals. If they've crystallized, then they've gone through a metamorphic process, which literally, Rudolf Steiner says, when you're looking at a quartz crystal, you are looking into an empty, hollow space where a God dwells. Now, if you're talking about gratitude's probably the second most powerful thing on the face of the earth. Love flows through you. Everybody thinks love is a feeling. Love is not. It's willpower. And when love flows through you, it's not you. It couldn't be you. We're just little worms. If you have love that goes through you, that came from God. Period. There's no other place for that. That's what the whole universe is. Down here on the earth, we're not the universe. We're less than 1%. Actually, we're 0.001% of the universe is physical matter. So when we want to play these games with matter, we're talking about incidental stuff. and what Charity just said, it's about the heart. It's about raising, putting love in your heart and then raising that up through the process of ascension. So gratitude. When Emoto started doing this, he found that the two things that made the most beautiful structures, hexagonal structures, were love, saying love over water, and gratitude. I don't know if you know this. How do I say this? There was a couple year period there where I went through some physical problems, like real pretty difficult ones, and ended up with some strange heart attacks, and went on dialysis. Have you ever known anyone on dialysis? Any of you? It's the walking dead. When you're put on dialysis, that's it.
Liz is on dialysis. She's energetically.
How did you
she's run her own
survive?
kidneys.
How did you survive? Because only 1% of people survive after ever going on dialysis. And well over about 75% of them pull the plug because they can't take the process anymore. This is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life, was going into a dialysis clinic. So how'd you get past that?
It's a long story. I have a long with kidneys, and I've been on dialysis when I was in my 30s for a few months, and now I'm on dialysis after a kidney failure of a transplant. But I am a person who's positive.
There are a few saints in there, and I would see people like you in there, and I'd go, how is this? Because I was freaking out, and I was not handling it well. And then there'd be this guy,
It's very
and
tough.
I'd say, how long you been there? He says, I've been doing this for 30 years. What's your problem?
Yeah.
And you're like,
I don't want to do this for 30 years. And I'm also having a plan. I'm trying to grow a new organic kidney in my body while I'm on dialysis, which is quite tough because dialysis is not the ideal situation in which to grow a new kidney. But that's what I'm doing. I don't give up, and I don't believe in that this is the limit. I don't believe that miracles don't happen. Miracles can happen, but you have to make it so,
absolutely,
in a natural way, not in an artificial way. So, yeah.
One of my dearest friend lost both of his kidneys, and he still lived. Now, that's not supposed to be able to happen. So here's what happened to me. I was in there, and you know the routine: 3 days a week, 5.5 hours. And if you move, you may have to start. If you move your arm, you may have to start over again for another 5.5 hours the next day. So I was probably as depressed as anyone could possibly be. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of my children showed up at the house one day, and I had such a good time. I forgot that I was on dialysis. Forgot that I was dying from my kidneys. And so I felt this overwhelming gratitude. And then for some reason, a cloud of gratitude surrounded me. And all I could say for, I don't know, days was, thank you, Lord. Thank you. And all I was thinking of is, if I could have one more day like that. And so I went in, and I'm taking chocolates to all the nurses in the place, and I'm just happy as can be. And it's like, 2 days ago, I was just at the end. I thought I was at the end. Okay. And so a few days later, my doctor comes in, and she lunged forward and gave me a hug and said, "You're the first person I've ever known to be able to come off of dialysis." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Your numbers are healthy. I've never seen this happen in 27 years," and blah, 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 blah. And the only thing I can attribute it to, long story short, gratitude. If you just start saying, I am thankful for my one kidney that works, or my both kidneys that are going to work, or my new kidneys, I have like a new heart. My heart went through this thing where it started having 3 beats all the time. And the doctors are going, this can't happen. We can't stop it. We don't know what this is. And da, 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 da. That's evolution. What you may be going through is some type of evolution. And as my wife always says, oh, they're going through that challenge because there's these challenges. You have to face death if you're going to actually ascend. And so I salute you. I can't, and that you have such a positive attitude. That's why you're doing well, you know? And I tell you, I probably wouldn't have a good attitude because the other day I thought that my kidneys were crashing, but they're not. I got a 1.9, you know, I'm fine. Will be probably the rest of my life. But I thought it was, right? And so I said to myself, that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and die. And then I thought, well, you know, that's really stupid. One more day of getting to have my grandchild sit on my lap. That's better than all the spiritual study of anthroposophy I've done in my whole life.
Thank you. That beautiful story. Thank you so much, Douglas, for sharing your experiences. And thank you, Liz, for stepping up and sharing your experience with regrowing your kidney and the spiritual work that you do to stay focused the way that you do is inspirational. It's been so inspirational. So I'm glad that you two can both share and experience and understand the depths that you each go through to bring that kind of light forward in the world. So thank you so much. Michael.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. As I've often pointed out, if you're going to go to heaven, you probably go to hell first. Matter of fact, in every single case I know of anyone who ever said that they saw an angel or went to heaven, went to hell first.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Michael?
I humbly gather from what we've heard so far in many ways that part of the way forward or the solution, so to speak, is to learn as much as we can from the miracle of water or plasma. And for me, looking at the story of the heart and the cosmos and how everything in a certain way is scaled, it repeats itself. So the cosmos, just like the brain with its synapses and so forth. I always come back to, in the heart, for me, it's the alignment with the absolute that we can remember. And while we practice the mastery of paradoxes, which is to hold the extremes of polarities and other concepts and live them, and in so many ways that also connects to the concept of karma. If the knowing can grow that we are whole, that we are perfect on the inside, in the heart, whatever that space is, and the connection that is similar to the plasma connection to the sun, then whatever we play out on the stage of life is a way to understand that and to balance it. But that's kind of our dabbling and sparring with evil, is the stories that are real, but I think they're also a part of us to grow, of soul parts that have left us or aspects that we want to reintegrate. But we can be whole and have those aspects splintered off at the same time. That is absolutely something that one can contain. But it is coming back to this wellspring and this power of knowing that we have this, we can bring it back to the connection, the alignment with the absolute, that is ultimately the way to understand in a deeper way. But we cannot do that without having gone through the subjective and the objective plays and games and stories that we've clearly shared and we share on a collective level. Thank you.
Well, that was beautiful. That wasn't a question. That was just beautiful. Thank you. I agree with everything you said. So beautifully said.
Thank you, Michael. Kat, do you have a question on Sophia and the demiurge? Shh. Oh, we can't hear you, Catherine. It's okay.
Still getting used to having to sit with headphones on. Um, let's see. So in my reading about Baphomet and Sophia, Ahriman, and the Demiurge, and who exactly Yahweh is, and the Matrix and the like, there is a belief that Baphomet and Sophia are the same, that Baphomet was basically a symbolic representation created by the Templars for the Sophia on Earth. So looking at that, and unfortunately, I will admit my reading on Steiner is very limited right now, so I'm still catching up. But the sentiment that I seem to come across is that the Ahriman is not Sophia, but is Yahweh, and I'm just trying to balance, I guess, how this is all working out in our current three-dimensional reality, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yes, you're a Gnostic.
Sort of.
Yes, when you're talking about Sophia and you're describing it, the Demiurge, you're talking about Gnosticism, and that's very good. Steiner talked about anthroposophy being Gnosticism and Gnostic Christianity. But to answer those questions, yes, but you said it right in what you just said. Sophia is a representation of the human being fallen to the earth, and she has to be redeemed. That's a little bit different than what Steiner would point out, which doesn't negate either one of them, because it is true what the Gnostics pointed out. And it's important to remember that the Gnostics basically brought us all of the pre-Christian wisdom right into Alexandria and turned it into, after St. Mark went there and met Ormus, turned it into the 98 or 96 degrees of the Memphis Mizraim Lodge. Those degrees of that Freemasonic lodge at that time was basically a condensing of different pagan views or pre-Christian views, because you say pagan, well, they still worship the sun being coming to the earth, but they did it before Christ was here. So once you put it in perspective, all the lineages are true in their age. For instance, I've studied a lot of Tibetan Buddhism, and Tibetan Buddhism is all true. But remember, Tibetan Buddhism was 100% taken from the Bon culture, which is 10,000 years older. So everything has to be put in its place, especially true lineages. And then you can sort things out. For instance, let's take Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce's made many, many prophecies that people get all worked up about because they didn't come to pass. They did come to pass in the psychic realm. If you look at what he said and you say, oh, he's talking about the realm of the soul, the realm of the psyche. Yes, those things are true. So when we're talking about the Gnostics, Rudolf Steiner said, the incarnation of Lucifer in China, hotly debated whether it's 3000 or 2000 BC, doesn't really matter. But when Lucifer incarnated once and once only in a human body, it was the counterpoint on the other side of Christ incarnating over here for Ahriman incarnating, right? So 2000 BC, 2000 AD, and in the middle is Christ. So then people say, but wait a second. Like you just asked, is Ahriman really like the fallen Sophia? Well, kind of, but not quite for Steiner's view of it. But that's Steiner's view of it, again, is not 100% perfect, because he's talking from a specific vantage point and oftentimes from a specific period of time. And right now you have Lucifer on your left pulling you up, trying to take you away from the earth too early. Ahriman on your right, speaking in your ear, trying to take you down. And in the middle, if you're with Christ, then the Asuras the agents of Sorat, the sun demon, really can't touch you. Matter of fact, all you need to know, because people ask me, knowing that I've been trained as an exorcist, even as a child specifically, which really was quite the deep end. What is it you do to overcome evil? One thing. Whatever you see evil as, let's say Lucifer, get ye behind me. Ahriman, get ye behind me. Asuras, get ye behind me. In other words, you're putting them into your past. You're knowing who they are. You understand the evil for what it is, and you put it behind you because you're going forward. Right now is not the time to turn around and take up the sword of Michael or the sword of Manjushri or the curved knife of Vajrayogini and start hacking up evil. It isn't going to work. Evil, these people, you'd be hacking up humans. People say, well, what does a devil look like? I went, what do you mean? They're in the body of humans. They look just like a human. And as a matter of fact, they look like a Jeffrey Epstein. Nice smile. Everybody likes him. Everybody wants to associate with the devil, don't they? Name the biggest devils on the earth, and you find that the people who worship Mammon, who is another name for Satan or Ahriman or the Antichrist or Sorat, all rolled into one word, Satan, or it could be called Mammon, or some people call it Baal because it comes from the Lebanese, which comes from the Chaldeans, which came from the Sumerians, which came from the Turanians. So when you want to go back to real evil, you have to look at the evolution of evil and see that, we're all fallen. We are all fallen from the demiurge, and we're trying to reunite it. We're all the fallen Sophia, but at the same time, we're also Lucifer, and we're also Ahriman. And if you can really know that as you evolve into your Christ and self. And that's a very difficult point for people to understand because we came from a group soul, one of the four tetrarchs, which, the lion, the eagle, the bull, the angel, or the human. We came from a group soul, and we're going to a group soul, but only once we develop complete individuality, because what else would we add to the group soul of Christ? Christ has already evolved. So as we evolve towards that, we have to connect with Sophia. Now, the way that we present Sophia is actually taken from Rudolf Steiner, but it's taken from all the other great traditions too. But people don't acknowledge, yes, those three books right there, Tyler's trilogy on the Gospel of Sophia. And it describes a little bit different because technically, and this always gets us in trouble, but if there is always a duality in the physical world and there's a God, then there's got to be a goddess. Okay, end of conversation. Is there a duality? Is there not a duality in every single thing in the world? Yes. Without electricity, static electricity, there wouldn't be electromagnetism. There would be nothing. That's the male and that's the female. Okay, and it's very, very simple. That's how simple it is. But at the same time, it's rather complicated to say that there's a father God, a mother God, a son God, a daughter God, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Sophia. But that's what we put forth because Rudolf Steiner actually said that, but we're about the only people who ever noticed that he said it. And we put it in the books so people can find that Rudolf Steiner points this out. So who are these? When God, the unmanifest, made the universe, the unmanifest made the manifest. No, it didn't. They both made each other. It was like looking in a mirror. So you have a God, and everything in the entire universe is the body of Sophia. That's the reason Sophia holds the pala. That's the star-studded cloak or the pala of Sophia that represents the Milky Way. That's only one thing she holds. She holds the whole cosmos. Everything in creation comes from the mother and falls back to the mother. So in all Aboriginal cultures, literally all that I have ever studied, there's always a triple goddess, the goddess of birth, death, and rebirth. In other words, the female body represents Sophia. Well, the cosmos body represents the divine. But there's also the unmanifest. Behind the stars is an entire unmanifest thing we can't even comprehend. And then the daughter, who's the daughter? Well, according to Rudolf Steiner, according to Catholic Church and everybody else, there's 9 hierarchies. One of those hierarchies, the hierarchy of wisdom, is called the cosmic Sophia. She is a being of the Kyrieutetes. She's a being who basically, let me think this through. Yes, of course. She worked with the thrones to bring space and time into existence through certain beings. And so this being is so high, and she actually came all the way down from the Kyrieutetes to hover over what Rudolf Steiner calls the mother, or he calls her actually not the mother of Jesus. He calls her Mary Sophia. So this being, this really, really, really high being, came almost down into the human body, or into a human body, but didn't incarnate like Christ came from a higher realm and worked through the Elohim and came down into a body. But Sophia did not come into a body. And there's a reason for that. So that's all the wisdom that there is. All wisdom tradition comes from Sophia. And then there's the third Sophia, and she is the collective superconsciousness of all human beings who are evolving towards ascension. Now that's where Gnosticism gets into some of the coolest descriptions of Sophia, because they start to describe the transformation of Sophia, much like the Irish do. And so that being, Rudolf Steiner actually says that being started at a certain time in history and grows along with humanity. And as humanity's intellect is evolving, so is this being as a collective superconsciousness. So those are 3 beings. That's a trinity. So Rudolf Steiner says Sophia is a trinity. And the first one he calls the mothers, because they created ancient Saturn, ancient sun, ancient moon. They're the mothers. And now we're on Earth. Who's that? Well, that's Kyrieutetes created everything on the Earth and the cosmos. Everything we see is created by that Sophia being. And then down here, every time a person takes a step towards the spirit, the very being of what Rudolf Steiner calls Anthroposophia, we call her Holy Sophia, passes through the human being and actually aids and records and holds that in what Steiner calls the treasure chest of karma in your heart. So Sophia is constantly passing through your heart all the time, anytime you do anything spiritual. So it's 3 different beings. Those are the manifested beings. And then you have, of course, a male trinity and a female trinity. And that is so different from the Gnostics, but at the same time, I love all of the Gnostics. I love all pagan religions because I'm trying to find the golden thread that runs through all of them, and there is. And when you find this, it makes you happy. And Rudolf Steiner said that the Gnostics were able to teach an understanding of Christ and God, which is the Trinity, taken from the ancient teachings and put into a form that literally became the Trinity that is in the Christian religions now. And that was the gift of Lucifer in China in 2,000 or 3,000 BC. And so he says the Gnostics literally had there at Alexandria the cosmic wisdom of Lucifer, and they sculpted it into this beautiful vision of Sophia. And so when I read the Gnostics and I read all the different gospels, that go back to Mary and to all the different disciples, I think it's some of the most beautiful things. The Gospel of Thomas, I believe, is the very book that Christ used to teach his virtues to his followers. He has the same exact words in it. So I think that the Gnostics are very, very powerful, but we now in this age, we ourselves, through our physical body, our soul, and our spirit, can embody both the male and female sides of the different trinities.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I tried to summarize the whole book for you, my dear. So you don't need to read all the books. Just talk to Charity and other people like this gentleman here, and you guys have it all together. Your study group has more smart people in it. than most of the anthroposophical study groups. Or as somebody
Oh.
said today, if you're having a second thought, well, that's two more than normal people usually have.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's
And that's
been,
the truth. Think of
yeah.
that. People don't think anymore. And I think you brought that up. Steiner said we would not be able to think now.
Right.
He is correct. But when he said, he didn't just say injections, but he did say they'd inject something that would make you hate the spirit and absolutely disbelieve in the spirit, not be able to, he said many things. He said not be able to think. He said that a child would be able to be given an injection at birth that would turn them into an adult there upon the spot. That's called the hepatitis B shot, given to a child the moment they're born. And then, of course, it's the good news. We hear that the fluoride is going to be taken out of the drinking water in America. I'll believe that when I see it, but that calcifies the pineal gland. You can't think if your pineal gland has hydroxyapatite, which is a type of calcium, or calcium calcite in it. No, it has to have calcium carbonate. And that calcium carbonate causes your pineal gland, once it becomes piezoelectric charge, it causes your pineal gland usually lays down. It's an aqueduct from the fourth to the third ventricle. And at the moment that you have raised your heart through these processes, of course, we call the earthly and cosmic nutrition stream or the etherization of the blood. When that happens and you consciously do this, you literally feel your pineal gland stand upright and start to broadcast. And that is what Americans can't do. And as a clairvoyant, I've been looking into people's third eye all my life and just going, oh, man, there are people, I'm sorry to have to say this, they never have a single free thought in their entire life. And they may have never had a free act of love flow through them in their entire life. So, we're working in a very, very dark age. And a lot of these human-looking people are not human. They do not have a spirit. In some cases, they don't have an I am. And they are simply their bodies that we still need to try to redeem. As he said to the Christian community priests, yeah, there's locust people and there's snail people and there's all those nasty people down in the mud. Yeah, your job is to redeem them. You're not getting out of this without taking those people with you. And it's like, oh man, I know I'm not strong enough to do that.
No. Some we talk about missions sometimes, like, is that a crazy concept to say, my mission is to fill in the blank. But curiously enough, I love our little group. I just adore us. We're all different levels, at different levels of clairvoyance, and so we come together and put a picture together, and have these wonderful conversations weekly. And you mentioned something that is in terms of how the collective soul will. We're going back to a collective oneness, and I did see these shots in my visions of attempting to knock the soul out of the body. And this was back when I actually physically had skin to skin contact. By trade, I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I started hearing medical terms. I'm not a doctor, so I started hearing all these medical terms, cytokine storms, people I'd worked with that I couldn't find their soul anymore. Where am I going to communicate? Who am I communicating with now? And so we started seeing these connections. And for a while, I was seeing across the planet these high heart connections in humanity that were creating a new grid system. And for a while, I was thinking, oh, this is a great thing. But now I'm looking back at it thinking, oh my God, that's the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Things that they're using perhaps to make it so we can't think for ourselves. And so now everyone goes to ChatGPT or to their whatever OpenAI and says, how do I answer this question? Right? What am I supposed to say here? And it has become just the way of being in a monstrous number of people in humanity. It's it's deafening in what it is we're hearing. And Kat, you just wrote that Calgary, Alberta, voted last year to reintroduce fluoride into its water system after years of not having it, which is just crazy to me. Joel, we've got like 5 minutes. We'll see if Douglas can get your question down to.
Thanks. 5
Oh, I
minutes.
can't. I can't
Douglas,
do that. Why do we
I've
only
seen-
have 5 minutes?
I've seen
Well,
enough of
I want to
Douglas.
honor your time. I want to
Oh,
honor
don't
your
worry about
time.
my time.
Okay.
No, there's no time to me.
Time is a construct. I'm in the now.
Exactly.
We have eternity. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Doug, it's a whole nother question. Thinking and knowing, right? So obviously, so somebody says that the small self knows and the true self, no, the small self thinks and the true self knows, right? And so once one braids that body, soul, spirit, right, or the I am together, one can function in the world, because I need to think to get out of my room, right, and check on my hotel. But I also want to know, should I go, is it good to go on this path or this path, right? What's my knowing on that, or whatever that is, right? So how do you look at balancing that thinking and the knowing, and having that clear access to true knowing, and not false knowing, which would be not Christic knowing, or not true knowing? Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. Yeah, that's the other half of your 1% there, Joel.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it's the big question. And Steiner describes this, but boy, does it take a long time to understand it if you're getting it by reading his books. Here is the reality. And if you said this to an anthroposophist, they'd tell you you're nuts. Well, first off, what is an intuition? It's a knowing. Now, how do you know that it's an intuition? Because it's 100% right all the time. Period. And you didn't do it. That's a good indication. If you didn't do it, look into it. Now, it could be an inspiration. All of a sudden, you get this one flash and you go, whoa, and you're inspired for the whole rest of your life. That's different. Or it could be a higher thought. You can go into the imaginal world, like when you're just before you go to sleep, you can stay. Steiner talks about this, and everybody does. That state in between sleep and dream, you have the capacity to see the imaginal world. And what is it? It's infinite amount of two-dimensional planes coming at you from all directions. And when they coincide, they create things. They could just be an image, could be a sound comes next, or it could be a word. So when you hear a word, you hear the music of the spheres, and you're usually seeing something, and it all comes at once, and you say, there's no doubting it. Like I've been doing readings for a long time. I can't tell you how many people I've done readings for, and they all come back and go, yeah, you're 99% right. Or whatever. How did I know that? I didn't know any of it. It came through me, but I had faith to recognize what an intuition was. An intuition cannot appear in you without love. Period. No such thing. So if you know something, it's because the angels, the archangels, the archai, and all the other hierarchical beings helped you know it, and it came through your body, and your body is all of the consonants all spoken at one time. That's what your body is. Okay. So if you want to know something, it's usually coming from the stars, from behind the stars. That's how big we are. And people go, you're out of your mind. The stars aren't far away, and they're not anything like anyone's ever told you. You're looking into a mirror and you're looking at yourself. And someday you'll be as big as the cosmos. It's as simple as that. And why? Because you got out of the way, you surrendered to love. Now, do people surrender to love in their thinking? No. Do they surrender with love and freedom to what they know? Generally, they question themselves, right? I've been teaching people to be psychic for a long time. And the first thing people do is I say, okay, tell me this. First thing that comes to your mind, that's the truth. But if you think about it, it's going to convince you that's not the truth. And then it's going to go into inspiration. It's going to go to a bunch of images, a bunch of sounds that don't make sense, and all kinds of music. And then it feels really great. But then all of a sudden, but it didn't congeal. That's intuition. So that is the entire path of spiritual development. When you can bring your willpower, which we are completely unconscious of, we're in a trance in our willpower, a trance. We do not know what our willpower is doing. We are in a dream in our feelings. Dreamless sleep. And in our thinking, so it goes dreams, dreamless sleep, and trance. So in your thinking, and you're in that state in between, whoa, you can see everything. And some of it isn't yours. And you go, wait, I've never seen those things before. Where'd they come from? And they're coming in 1,000,000 miles a minute. And they seem to make sense, and they're all talking to each other, right? And then all of a sudden you hear something, and it's the most beautiful music you've ever heard. But it conveys not just a feeling, it conveys a color, a shape, this and that. That's inspiration. That's in your heart. And then intuition is in your will. Now, we're supposed to turn our heart from being autonomic into sympathetic. We're supposed to take over our own heartbeat. That's how you control plasma in your body. You're supposed to control your willpower in the organs, because that's the harmony of the spheres. And each of the archangels through one of those spheres, as well as higher beings, are coming into your organs, doing all your work for you, and you don't even know it. You don't know how to do it yourself. So once you take over once you take over the kidneys, you actually take over your conscience. When you take over your heart, you take over moral technique. And intuition you get to intuition through the heart, through moral technique. So your question is profound, because really there's 1,000 exercises you could do to train your mind, to train your concentration, and to train your prayer, because it's prayer, love. Most prayer is love, right? So it's love. And Rudolf Steiner says in The Philosophy of Freedom that, in his exact words, intuition alights through thinking, through love. And that was some say that's his greatest thing he ever came up with.
Thank you. We talk about the system going from autonomic to sympathetic. And that happens when you're one with your spirit. And so when we are connected or braided in, to use Joel's term, then you have control. You have control over that. And so that way something else, if you're not controlling your emotions, for instance, which is how we talk about getting over duality or being controlled, if you're not doing it, someone or something else is. And so, we talk about overcoming these things, and you were talking about conquering, controlling the kidneys. And to me, that is conquering fear, overcoming the overwhelm of I can't do it, or I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And so many of these religions talk about like being unworthy. You're not worthy to speak with the angels, or you're not worthy to do these. It's not just religions. I'm a recovering Catholic, but I do think that some of the things in Catholicism are beautiful. So it's really interesting to learn how to come back together as one, really understand what it is we're piecing and putting together as a humanity. We talk about riding these solar waves and not falling down into them. How do we do that? We use the energy body and understand that this is a cosmic system that it's important to be part of. It's important to understand it. Um, oh my gosh, I could just keep you here all day. We could just keep going, but
I'm here all day. I'm here in the lounge until Thursday, actually.
oh my
So
goodness.
I got a friend coming in from out of town. Until he shows up, I don't think he'll be here for a while. And as you
Um,
know, I can talk all day.
which is just so exciting for us. Um, gosh, I have so
I want to jump onto what you just said.
mhm.
The Steiner points out, and the Bible points out, that the heart and the kidneys are one. They're called
Yes,
heart and reins.
a trifold
R-E.
flame.
Yeah, and it is fear. And where there's fear, there's no love. Where there's love, there's no fear. So if your kidneys are messing up, let me tell you, it scares you really bad, because they'll tell you, oh, yeah, your heart, we know when you die, but your kidneys, you might know 3 days ahead of time, and you might not know until it just happens. It's like, what did you say? The kidneys can do that? Because why? It's fear and, anger and the liver. And so you go through these things and you go, oh, so when I'm working on the petals of my chakras, those are affecting my organs? Yes. And they're affected by planets. And it's all one, as you said, it's all braided together. They're all the correspondences.
What do you think about like the asuras or other entities getting into these open portals, like our chakras or even the meridian lines into acupuncture points and controlling those systems?
This has been a question that has arisen in our last 10 years of work because of my work as an exorcism, in
Mhm.
exorcism and with evil still to this day. First off, the evil gets in ways that you wouldn't know that it was evil. It's by what you eat, what you drink, what you think. The worst evil you can do is what comes out of your mouth, not what goes in, period. You can harm a person for many incarnations with a single sentence. So we have to realize that these humans who are possessed by evil are one thing. They didn't get there unless they asked to be possessed by it. So if you worship money, you're worshiping a demon and you become a little demon spawn. And why would anyone be surprised? So what you do with your normal life, that is your religion. And if you wish to be a glutton, or you wish to be lustful, or there's no end to it in America. Oh, great. Oh, you're the biggest glutton in America. Well, let's put you on a TV show. Let's give you lots of money. And, you're basically, I always like to say that America is born upon birth effects. What you're born with. Like if you're, born really big, you become a basketball player, you become a football player. If you're really wicked mean, you become what? A lawyer, or you become a politician. It's given in your personality, which you carry over from a previous life. So evil, there's also other evil. Every fallen being from the past, I don't care where they're in the hierarchy. They could be a being of the thrones, which is called the Ophanim, and they create what are called vimanas, or thrones, or vehicles for bringing the spirit in, right? Some of them fell. Can you imagine me as a little worm confronting a being of the thrones with the willpower of God? And what would happen then? Well, he's not going to work through one person, that being. He's going to work through all of humanity at once, the whole earth. So you have angels who work through individuals. Well, there's fallen angels. Well, you have you have archangels work through nations. There's ones that made whole nations become pure evil. And we see this now. It's almost as if to be a leader of a country, you have to be psychotic and completely possessed by some demon, or else you can't even converse with the other demons who are running the world. So they come in all kinds of ways. There's called Avicii men. Now, those are the really evil ones. And they left the moon some time ago, and they came to the earth, and they went underneath the earth, and they're coming up through our machines. So every time we turn on a light and we don't say, thank you, fallen angels, we just tethered ourselves to the evil beings who create that. And because we're unconscious, we just perpetuated it in ourselves. But because it's unwitting, we may not know it until after we die. I may be repeating myself here. when I helped Kathleen Kennedy on and Spielberg on The Poltergeist, said the child has to put their hand on the TV because they're touching not only fallen angels, they're touching the dead. Because materialists who die stay in that realm. They stay in the realm of fallen angels, this earth electromagnetism brought up from below the earth, and they get caught there. So now we could go on and on, but first I should say, everyone should have their poison, because everyone should change their consciousness from normal consciousness at least once a day, right? So that's usually your poison, whether it be chocolate and serotonin, or whether it be caffeine, or in its many, many forms. But you always pay the piper. You always, in every case, pay the devil his due, because this is his realm. So how many ways are there that it seeps in? Infinite. How many ways people know? They don't know. And so when they say, oh, there's pedophiles ruling the world who eat children, they go, no, there's not. You're completely crazy. It's never stopped in human history. Why would it stop now? I mean, how stupid could someone be to think that evil isn't worse now than it was before? It grows like every living thing. It wants to become more of itself, and it will eat you alive. And so, what was it they said in the Batman movies? Did you ever dance with the devil in the full moonlight? Or here's another one. Have you ever looked the devil in the face, my friend? No, I mean it. Have you ever looked the devil in the face, my friend? Because if you haven't, you're probably going the same way. So you got to look the devil in the face, but then you put him behind you, and then he doesn't bother you. There's no, I have been involved with things that are unbelievable. And if you want to hear about them, they're on our YouTubes, because my wife made me do my biography, more or less. And so I've seen all kinds of demons. Not a one of them had any control over me, because I knew who they were. I knew their name. I knew their sigil. I knew the prayer, which prayer to use on them, and how to prepare myself before and afterwards. Could I do that now? No, because I'm just an evil asshole like everyone else now. But when I was really, really young, oh no. I mean, they took me into settings that were, I won't even describe them to you, because you'll have nightmares from me just saying one sentence about them. But I saw a lot of that, right? And yet, in the end, if you're pure, nothing can bother you. You are a god in the becoming, a goddess in the becoming, and there's nothing in heaven or earth that can bend your will. That's why we have evil, so we can have free will. And if we didn't have evil, we would not have free will. And evil all has its day. Will all evil be redeemed? Over very long times, yes, perhaps. But the point is that even in the short run, Lucifer is redeemed by the Father God, Son God, Holy Spirit redeemed the three types of evil. Christ redeemed Sorod. Ahriman is, Lucifer is redeemed by the Holy Spirit, and God redeems Ahriman, because this is the physical realm, and God, it was, part of making this physical realm. So they're all redeemed in the end, but I have people who are so obsessed with this that they had to know, is there such a thing as evil that goes on? A Manvantara is longer than anyone can imagine. It's longer than time. It's longer than linear time. So does evil go on? Yes, it does go on, but not so dramatically as it does in our time. Remember, in the past, there was no evil. There was no evil. 3000 BC and before, there were no wars. There were no weapons for wars. There were no words for wars. When women were universally the Aboriginal culture that believed in the triple goddess, there were no wars. No, that's all the patriarchy that's happened definitively since 2101 BC. And you can see that it's still hanging on. Like you mentioned earlier, we need to move into the new Sophia. We need to move into our aspect of Sophia. Correct. But don't be surprised that you have to leave a lot of people behind. There's a quote by Nietzsche that said, Sophia looks for warriors who will lead forward, and when the banner drops, when her compatriots fall to the left and right, they will pick up the banner and leap forward. Nietzsche said that before he went insane. Why? Because he went insane, probably because he got too enlightened and didn't come back. It happens to a lot of people. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
I think
I
that's
still got hours.
I think that's amazing. Since I was a young child, I've been able to see demons, possessed people. I see it behind their eyes. I can smell them. And while I've not been trained, I do clearings and possession removals, but is it called a neophyte? So I'm not in, but I see them, and you can get them to tell you their name. And once that happens, of course, I don't know what prayers to use, so I'd love to another time talk to you about that, because I think that would be very helpful in helping me understand some of the work that I do. But this goes into um, a question of in order to see these kinds of beings and interact with them, do you have to step down your frequency or your presence, or can some people just see them, period?
That's a really good question. You can see on 3 levels. Most people just see emotions coming off of people's gestalt, and that's just a real basic level. And yet that can be like a Sherlock Holmes. I can walk in and look at somebody and tell you all about them without doing any psychic anything. I can just look at their hair, look at their ears, I can read your ears. I can read your eyes. I can read your brow. I can read your teeth. When you smile, I can tell. I give readings for children who can't read. I can walk into a room. I've done this many times as a superintendent, and they're having trouble with the child, and I'll say, "Oh yeah, yeah, he's got a burst left eardrum." Have him put his left hand over his left ear and sing this song back to me. Now he can read. So once you can look in and you can see the drops in the heart, if there's no pink drops in the heart, they might not be human. If there's no crystals in their third eye, then they're not very developed. Now, if you've been clearing people and you haven't been struck by lightning, you must be doing it right, and you don't need a prayer because it's been working and you're using the pure heart. That's the highest prayer there is. Oh, I can recite all kinds of prayers. That doesn't mean that, that they're in my heart. So you don't need to worry about that. At this point, there are, for instance, the head exorcist of at the Vatican, possessed by demons.
Yeah.
This is where we are in this age. And so, the simplest person who might be the janitor. I once walked into this room, walked into the bathroom, and the janitor was doing something. He spilled something or something. So I went over and was helping him, and I started talking to him. And we just got into cleaning the bathroom. I was early, and we were having this great conversation. And I was a forensic expert for schools, and I'd go into the schools and I'd have to assess them and determine whether they're cheating and all this. First person I talked to was the janitor, right? So I'm talking to this janitor, and he's giving me wisdom, and I walk out of there going, man, that just proves that you've got to talk to everybody, man, because here's the janitor. So I go into the lecture to meet this incredible person. His name was Willy Sucher, the greatest astrosopher that knew Rudolf Steiner. He was the lecturer. He wasn't the janitor, but he couldn't stand to see the bathroom not clean. So before his lecture, he cleaned up the bathroom. That's what I'm talking about. So you don't need, as a matter of fact, the guy who trained me, he wasn't pure, and he was attacked by the spirit, and he was in a wheelchair. But anyway, the point is that in today's age, to know who they are, I didn't answer your question before completely because it's kind of complicated. There are elemental possessions. I could name one. I bet you know one of these people. Should I say his name? I've told the whole rest of the world. Why shouldn't I say it to you? Do you know who Ari Thorson is?
I don't.
He's an anthroposophist, probably the #1 requested lecturer in the world for anthroposophy. He's a veterinarian, and he's possessed by succubi and incubi.
Oh.
Because when animals become too human, they don't get to go back to group soul. They roam around the earth like the trade winds, And at night when you're asleep, they come and they rest on your chest and they suck up your warmth. Well, he is a living, maybe one of the most possessed people. I've seen a couple worse in terms of just walking around and people believing him. But some of the most possessed people I've ever met have followings that you wouldn't believe. And it's every word the person says is a lie.
Yeah. We talk about this here, about the spiritual communities. And of course, there's different branches of what that means. A big, huge fan of it. But it is incredible, the following that demons get. It's incredible. And that goes into, I do want to move into Catherine's question. With the mass levels of possessions lately manifesting into uncontrolled violent behaviors amplifying since the poison pokes and the degradation of entertainment industry, are these egregores, asuras, jinn attempting to warp the ascension of the collective consciousness of human and soul absolute corruption by human soul by absolute corruption?
That is, well, the answer is yes, and that's a great question, and it's something that we should dwell on. You said egregore, those are group souls. Every time that you create a true thought, you create an elemental being. If you can get a few people to believe it, you create a phantom. You get a few more people to believe it, it creates a spectrum. You get more people to believe it and they turn it into a law, that's a demon. So you have these, yes, the answer is yes. You have very, very nasty high beings working through manipulating entire groups of people. For instance, let's say some of the groups that they really do have an egregore, they have a group soul, and they might have one proclivity or another. I won't go into that because you might be one of them, or I might have a son or daughter who's one of them, which I do. But the point is that they're like 0.04% of our population in some of these protected groups. Who do you think's running that group worldwide? And why do you think that if one of them does something, the whole group reacts? And why do you think they'll protect each other? They don't know each other to death, to the death. Because it's an idea, it's a Luciferic idea that does not belong here. It could either be of the past or it could be of the future. And that's some of the reasons people are in those different groups, because they may be far in the future where there is no gender. They may be far in the past where it's just a bunch of animals. Choose your group. But each of those groups is an ism. And each of those isms is in fact fueled by money coming from some of the biggest demons on the earth. George Soros is one of the biggest demons on the earth. Okay, he's historic in terms of, he's in the top 100 most evil people ever to incarnate. And he loves what he does. So he funds all these groups, which makes them think that their ism, what they believe in, an idea, is true, and they're willing to fight for it because they don't think that it's been able to incarnate. They're willing to give their life for it. We see it all the time. We saw it again just a couple of days ago. They'll give their life for an ism that doesn't exist. That is a demon manipulation. Now, it can also be elemental. If you get addicted to smoking cigarettes, that's not you smoking the cigarette. Those are dead people still struggling with their desire to smoking through you. And you ever notice when a person smokes, they go unconscious and then they have the exact same motions. It's not them. What happens when you drink alcohol too much? It's the spirits in the bottom of the bottle. They take you over. And then how do you act? The same exact way that every other drunk person on the face of the earth acts. Why? Because it's the same demon. It's the demon in those spirits, whether they be whiskey or whatever, it doesn't matter. Same thing with fentanyl. Same thing with any of these drugs. They can kill you. Mashed potatoes, if you put it on your skin over and over, it gives you cancer. Anything, water can kill you. I know a guy, to this day, he's probably dead now, but he decided to drink a whole bunch of water all the time because he saw people doing it all, and it put him in the hospital. He ended up having problems for years. He's probably dead by now from water. Same thing with oxygen. Oxygen can enhance you, or it can deplete you. And so you have to determine what's your poison, what's your evil. If you don't know it's evil, if you don't know that the number one reason for psychosis in America is sugar, then you didn't do your homework. Sugar creates psychosis, period. One of the most evil substances ever. Now, you can use it for therapeutic purposes. For adults, they should do honey. For children, for middle-aged people, they should use cane sugar, just a little tiny bit. And for children, they should use beet sugar. Okay, well, who knows that, and who does that, and who does that pure? So when you go to do these things, you don't know. For instance, PFASs, is that how you say it? Those particles that cannot get out of the body once they get in?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
I've just been drinking the sparkling water that has the highest amount of it on the face of the earth.
I just did that too, and I didn't realize it.
So what am I doing to myself? I didn't know that existed. So is that going to get me? Yeah, there's a part that gets my physical body. Is it going to get my soul? Well, I'm totally bummed out. I love Topo Chico. It was the greatest thing I ever drank because I can only drink water, right? So I decided carbon dioxide is good for you. Yes, I looked this all up. I did my study. I researched it. It's got least amount of microplastics and no graphene oxide in the processing. Great. So I become addicted to it. And now I find it's one of the most poisonous things I can put in my body. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Right? That's
you get together with your friends and you talk about it. Exactly. And somebody tells me, don't drink that. Why?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for your time today, Douglas. It's just really been an honor to have you here and your wisdom that you bring forth. The energy that came in prior to you, and I want to share with the group, I was asking for the holy presence of Mother to be here, and I felt the colors and energy of the triple taras before we started. So I want to say thank you to that consciousness and the energy of that really held our container today.
Well, that's you, my dear, and that's your friends.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you are
you.
so lucky to have a group. Let me tell you, it's extraordinarily rare. I've seen a few of your broadcasts with some of your friends, and they're wonderful. And I think that's just marvelous. I'm trying to get out of the business myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to retire, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But anyway, so if you ever, the thing I love the most is to create the most difficult question you can and give it to me.
Okay.
So that the best answer I love is I don't know. Because then I have to go research, right? But all of you make remarks that show that you already know. So your questions were, they're great because it starts a great conversation. But in essence, there's nothing I've said that y'all didn't know anyway. And I just salute your work because it's extraordinary. And you have to have friends to do this with.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's been able to do it alone. If they're just a normal person in the normal world, it's just so overwhelming. So God bless you. God bless your work. Anytime you want. I'm retired now. I can have time to chat.
Thank you. It's so much gratitude and so much love. And please extend our love to your beautiful wife, Tyla, for letting us capture some of your time today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's our honor. She said, look, you go out there. Your job is to talk to people. And okay. Well, I talk a lot, so I can do my job. God bless each of you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Amen.